Lane Kiffin getting back to his roots, well, that'll unlock Austin Simmons. We will explain. This is the Locked On Ole Miss podcast.
You are Locked On Ole Miss, your daily podcast on the Ole Miss Rebels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Ole Miss podcast, the most watched Ole Miss podcast around. I am your host, Steven Willis, a 10-year veteran member of the national media with Yahoo Sports and a former Ole Miss staff member. On today's show, we are going to dive into the mystery surrounding Deuce Geralds and Anthony Davis, both set to announce their commitments tomorrow, and nobody has a firm read on where they're headed. Plus, two Ole Miss linebackers have landed on the Butkus Award watch list. We'll break down how Pete Golding can maximize their impact this fall. But first, Austin Simmons may have let something slip. The offensive line is reportedly learning an entirely new offense. We'll dig into what that could mean and why Lane Kiffin might already have the blueprint to unlock this roster's full potential. All of that and more right now on the Locked On Ole Miss podcast. We're free and available on all the podcast apps and on YouTube. Thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your first listen every day. And a special hello to the everydayers who make the show what it is. And that is the most fun way to follow Ole Miss sports. So do us a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment on this video. It will cost absolutely nothing, but help keep all of this free. And in this age of cash grabs, free is a good thing. Free is fun. And don't forget to check out a second listen on the network. Nearly every team, college or pro, is ready for you. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. All right, so Austin Simmons was being interviewed at Media Day by Brad Logan, friend of the program, frequently on this show. And Brad Logan asked him about the offensive line. He didn't ask him about the offense. He asked him about the offensive line. And Austin Simmons just kind of went to the point, said they're basically learning a new offense. And the way he said it, he almost caught himself what's going on. Now, Lane Kiffin, it is known that he changes the offense nearly every year based on the strength of his team. That's the way he has always worked. That is the way he is going to work this year. He changed with Matt Corral running the straight Baylor type offense to a little bit different with Zach Evans and Quinshon Judkins and 70% run on the field, to Jackson Dart last year, a very pass happy team. They change based on the strengths of the team. And so I'm expecting them to change yet again. And Austin Simmons is going to have an offense tailor-made for his skill set. That's going to happen. I think personally that with the intelligence that Austin Simmons has, the super rate of processing, the NFL influence that are on the coaching staff at the moment, including former head coach of the New York Giants, Joe Judge, coaching quarterbacks now, Lane Kiffin has a very pro roots. He came up in the USC system under Norm Chow way back when, just like Steve Sarkisian. I think the blueprint for this roster sits back in 2003 or 2004 USC, when Norm Chow was dialing up touchdown passes, when Matt Leinart was winning a Heisman, when Reggie Bush was in the backfield, Lindell White was in the backfield. I think that is the blueprint moving forward for what he wants to do. Now, that's an offense from 25 years ago. It probably would not work in modern football, rule changes and everything else. So it has to be a little bit of a hybrid. So I am thinking that with the matchup passing game that Norm Chow made famous at USC or BYU, even back before then with Lavelle Edwards, going to Lane Kiffin, his tempo with what's going on, I am expecting a melding of a pro-style offense under tempo. That is what I expect to happen this fall. Will it happen? I don't know. But I know you have a quarterback that can handle it. You have brought in intentionally multiple tight ends this offseason. They brought in 3 players with tight end bodies to go along with Daquan Wright. And they recruited Hayden Bradley. The tight end room at Ole Miss is getting pretty large. You have an NFL coach on the staff who is familiar with what works at that level. Whenever you have a high-ranking quarterback, Joe Judge was on the staff at New England when Tom Brady was there. He understands and has seen the quarterback processing ability happen at a high level. I think the offense is going to tweak pro style. And it's not just what Austin said at the press conference at Media Day. We heard rumors about the offense changing for months now, but we all expected it to change because Lane Kiffin is constantly changing that offense. When you look at the schedule for Ole Miss this season, Georgia State, good place to start what's going on. At Kentucky, Arkansas at home, Tulane at home, LSU at home, Washington State at home. 5 out of the first 6 games are at home. That is a perfect opportunity to break in a quarterback. I don't care about the talent of the team lining up across from you. You want a nice environment to kind of get used to running a different offense. That schedule is absolutely perfect for it. When you talk about a more physical fall camp, we did a show yesterday about the changes that were going on. The camps are going to be more physical this year. That is because they are going to try and institute running the football. Listen, last year, it's not a surprise that they were the worst running team that Lane Kiffin has had with the kinder, gentler fall camp. They're going to have to get after it a little bit. Now, I'm not calling it and calling for the Junction Boys to happen or something like that, but they do need to get them used to contact and get them ready to play because they were not ready to play Kentucky a year ago. Kentucky out-physicaled. Kentucky beat them in the contact portion of the football game, and that was the worst team in the Southeastern Conference. They got a little bit better as the year went on, but fall camp did not set the stage for that. This offense is going to need to be a physical offense. Lane Kiffin at his core is a running coach. Everybody talks about Lane Kiffin throws it around the yard. No, Lane Kiffin likes to run the football. If he has a choice between running and passing and it's an equal result on both sides, he is going to run the football. That goes back to his time with his father. Whenever Monty Kiffin instilled in him other team, when they can run the football, they will absolutely beat you every single time. You have to run the ball, you have to stop the run, and then everything else can open up. Joe Judge taking a larger role as a quarterback coach with Charlie Weiss lets me know there is a little bit more NFL standards coming into the offense. The tight ends coming in, as we talked before, Caleb Odom has a chance to be a matchup problem, a real matchup problem. So what will the offense look like in 2025? In my opinion, what will they do? What is the melding of what they did at USC in 2003 and 2004 with the modern game of college football? How does that look? And I think 2019 and 2020 Alabama is kind of the blueprint. We talked to the Florida football scout, Brian Smith, last night, and he talked about how this year I see a little bit of Mac Jones in this. Ole Miss is dominant at the wide receiver position. PFF calls them a top 5 unit in the entire country. They have tight end pass catchers all over, and they have mismatch problems that they can put in. They have running backs that can catch the ball out of the backfield and a quarterback that can process very quickly to take advantage of where your weak spot is, and he's likely going to find where your weak spot is. I think that in this matchup era of receiving, the 2019 and 2020 Alabama teams are the teams to look at for what the Ole Miss offense could look like. It's not going to look like Baylor, in my opinion, from the early 2000 teens. It's not going to look like Charlie Weiss Jr. did in 2022. I think it is going to resemble Alabama in those years when the wide receivers were the strength of those Alabama teams, And now with a quarterback that can distribute the ball, there's going to be distributing it all around the yard to different players. I think they have a chance to be pretty good in that area. So Ole Miss is going to look like Alabama in 2019, 2020. That's where I think this is going. That is Lane Kiffin going back to his roots, to where the 2003, 2004 USC teams, that is what a modern USC offense looks like in college football. I don't think they're going to get away from tempo. They're always going to go fast. That's just part of their DNA. But I think they realize that they have the talent to slow it down when they need to, and they can go as fast as they want to go. It goes back to my getting used to playing as a favorite thing that I say over and over again. Ole Miss has to learn how to do that. Part of that is to realize you do not have to go at breakneck speed every single play. You can play as fast as you want to play because you have the talent to get over on the other team as well. So, coming up, Ole Miss landed 2 names on this year's Butkus Award watch list. One was expected, but the other one has me kind of fired up. We will break that down and what it means for the defense next. You know, when I'm on top of my hydration, I know everything works better. My energy, my mood, my focus, heck, even my skin. But getting enough fluids every day, that's not always an easy thing to do. That is why I've been loving Drip Drop, especially in this heat. Especially right now in this heat, seriously. Drip Drop is a doctor-developed, scientifically proven for fast hydration drink. It uses a perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half of the sugar of a leading sports drink. My go-to flavor is orange, but hey, I live in Florida, so orange should be my flavor. It's a game changer after my daily walk in the intense Florida sunshine and helps me keep feeling great. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. They head to dripdrop.com and use the code LOCKEDONCollege. That's all one word. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. Well, even harder. Ole Miss got not 1, but 2 players on the Butkus Award watch list, and that kind of has me excited. Because we talk about the defensive line, and Pete Golding thinks the defensive line has a chance to be really good this season. Whenever you look at a William Eccles and a Jam Brown and a Xavier Harris and a Cam Franklin and a Deshaun Womack and a Prince Williman and a Suntaran Perkins, the defensive line has a chance to be a strength on this team. Not the team that they had a year ago with Walter Nolan and Princely Amonmielen, but they have a chance to be pretty good. One of the things that I always like to talk about on this program is the simplicity of football. And you will have a good defense if you can do this one thing. And that is, if your 2 interior defensive linemen can demand double teams on every play, it's going to make your edge rushers better. It's going to make your linebackers better. It's going to make your secondary better. And whole, it will make your complete defense better. So being on the Butkus watch list, that shows the high end of where these 2 players can go. First of all is TJ Dottery. Everybody knows TJ Dottery is expected to be a really good player for Ole Miss. He was the green dot player for Ole Miss last season. He went to SEC Media Days. Everybody expects TJ Dottery to be the dude on that defense this year. And I'm excited to see exactly how he could go. If Xavier Harris or Jam Brown or William Eccles can demand that double team, they're going to sweep around with less traffic each and every single play. That's one of the reasons last year's defense was so good. Walter Nolan and J.J. Pegues, they demanded a double team every single play. So Chris Paul and T.J. Dottery, they were able to go sideline to sideline, and they had the speed and the athleticism to do what needed to be done. T.J. Dottery, leader of that defense, like I said, SEC Media Days, I expect him to have an all-SEC level season this year. And with Pete Golding kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes, you can see how this defense can be pretty good. Now, the other linebacker on the list that got nominated as a Butkus Award watch list player was Andrew Jones. As a linebacker transfer out of Grambling. He was the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year when he was at Grambling, and he has all the athleticism in the world. If those double teams in the interior defensive line, if that happens, Andrew Jones will be a starter for the Ole Miss Rebels. I have no doubt about that, because if he can roam and run free sideline to sideline with his athletic ability, it's another Chris Paul type situation. Somebody that can run and do the things that needed to be done. Andrew Jones can absolutely do that. Now, the question I have is whether or not those double teams are going to happen and how he reacts when there's a little bit more traffic in there at linebacker. Does he get caught up in the wash? Does his athletic ability only shine when he's able to open it up? Those are questions that I need to see answered over the course of fall camp and into the regular season. That's easily, if that happens, you might see a Jaden Yates playing at the linebacker position, or one of the other transfers that they brought in. Maybe Tyler Banks gets a look beside TJ Dottery. But it all comes down to that defensive line. When you watch Georgia State, the Ole Miss and Georgia State on October 30th, or August 30th, I should say, look at that at the defensive line. Look, if Ole Miss is causing havoc in the middle of that defense, if Xavion Harris is, if William Eccles is, as Jam Brown, that they're making play after play after play, especially when they have to, that is a good sign for when SEC play gets there. That's an idea that you need to pay attention to in the first level of games, because if they are wreaking havoc, if they are causing problems, if they are giving the linebackers free runs, the linebackers are good enough to take absolute advantage of what's going on. I like Andrew Jones a whole bunch, and I think he has a chance to be very special. I do want to see certain things when it comes to his game. TJ Dottery, I just want to see him next level his game. He was good last year. Like I said, he was the green dot player for that Ole Miss defense. But I want to see him next level it to where he becomes a dominant player on the second level of that defense. TJ Dottery or Andrew Jones, they're going to help out Suntarine Perkins as well. This whole defense in the front seven, the front seven of the defense, you need to protect Suntarine Perkins. He's the best player in the entire league. He's the leading returning sack man for any defense in the Southeastern Conference. You need to protect that player. And he is such a Swiss Army knife that you can do some different stuff. So if those double teams are demanded, if that athleticism is on a second level, if the ends are where we think they are going to be, Suntarine Perkins all of a sudden gets to kind of run free and is a mess, because who do you block? What's going on? And if the front seven is what I hope they're going to be, the back end of that defense, where the question marks are, is going to be a little bit better as well. We talked yesterday, Wydett Williams, Kashina Gushikin, Jalen Braxton, cornerback Ricky Fletcher, Chris Graves, Antonio Kite, Fegan, the transfer in that just came in this summer. I will get his name down by the time the season gets around. But the defense has a chance to be really good if the defensive line is good. And it starts with those linebackers. They're the canary in the coal mine. If they are a problem and all of a sudden you're worried about the linebacker play and SEC play, defensive line probably isn't that good. They're the canary in the coal mine of what's going on. But when you look at TJ Dottery, absolutely deserved being on the watch list. Andrew Jones absolutely deserved being on the watch list. And I'm curious to see what the higher end of their talent will allow them to do. So it should be really interesting. In our final segment, we are going to be talking Cruton with Ant Davis and Deuce Geralds, both set to announce tomorrow. What could it mean for Ole Miss? We'll break it all down next. We've all been there, logging in early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for the show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of online ticket shopping. That is where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster or easier than ever. Prices actually drop the closer it gets to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last minute deals. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay. There's no hidden fees. And if you're worried about what happens when your plans change, the Game Time guarantee has your back with a little bit of cancellation protection and even more than that. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So last week I said that Ole Miss's recruiting could go from good to great or great to elite on over the 2-week period that we are in currently. And Craig Tutt committed last week or 2 weeks ago, and Ole Miss started the process of doing that. They got NASCAR McCoy committed. You can see they're building on the high school level of their class. This weekend, though, is kind of an important weekend. There's a couple of players that you need to pay attention to. First off is Anthony Davis. He is a linebacker out of Grayson High School in Georgia. It is Ole Miss, Michigan, Auburn, and Alabama for his services. If you look at what he is currently sit on the consensus as the 299th player in the country, the number 20 linebacker in the country, number 38 player in Georgia. He's in the top 300 at ESPN. He's a 4-star player on 247. He's a 3-star on Rivals. The reason he is a 3-star on Rivals is because he is under 200 pounds at the moment. He's kind of light. He's on the light side. But he is someone that on his highlights makes play after play after play all over the field. He's a complete linebacker. He needs a college football training table to put on weights. He's somebody that is going to play at 225 pounds and just be a pain for everybody. Everybody might remember Bird Bryant, Serdarius Bryant. Anthony Davis, in my opinion, kind of goes that direction with Serdarius Bryant. So we'll see exactly how that goes. His decision is set up for Saturday. Tomorrow, he is going to announce. Now, the other player is the legacy. He's the big one. He's Deuce Geralds. I always talk about it. If Deuce Geralds was 2 inches taller, he'd be the number 1 player in America. But as it sits now, he's listed at 6'3". I don't think he's 6'3". I stood right next to him at the Under Armour All-American game. But he said to me in the Under Armour All-American game, and this is back when I think Ole Miss was the bar none number 1 choice and number 1 option for him. He was really sold on Ole Miss after the Georgia game. They went through the All-Star season. He was there every time the door opened up for him at Ole Miss, and I think he's still very, very high on Ole Miss. Now, Steve Wiltfong put in a crystal ball or an RPM, whatever they call it, on there, wherever Wiltfong's working now. They put it in for Oregon. And that is the only thing that I've seen that's pushing him that way. I've heard rumors, but a lot of the rumors are based off of that crystal ball. And I'm sure NIL-wise, they put a big offer on the table. Oregon's one of the NIL giants in college sports right now, so I don't doubt that. But it should be interesting. The one thing that we have in this recruitment is the Oregon thing, the Wiltfong thing. So we will hang on to that and see if they are actually factual. I talked to Brian Smith, the Florida football scout, the Locked On recruiting expert. Said that Deuce was a coin flip at the moment. He has no idea where they go. He has no idea where Ant Davis goes. And he has no idea where Jase Mathews goes. He's heard rumors, but he doesn't know with any sort of definity. So we will see. Deuce Geralds, legacy, son of Deveron Geralds, who was Jevin Snead's center whenever he was here under Houston Nutt. Deuce Geralds was an MVP at the Polynesian Bowl. He was at the Under Armour All-American game. He's an elite pass rusher. Like I said, the one question that Brian Smith had, and I say it over and over again, and I will into signing day and through signing day if he goes to Ole Miss, is how he will stand up as a 3 technique, because a lot of people think that at the next level he will be a 3 technique. So we'll see. Deuce Geralds is a really good player. He is already an elite pass rusher. Next week, I guess next Friday after that, Jase Mathews is going to announce. He's from Greene County down on the coast. Auburn has gotten a little bit of a bump lately. LSU's high on his list. I know he's enthralled with their analytics program with wide receivers. I guess that was just a good way of selling that because they all have the same stuff. But Jase Mathews, we'll see what happens there. Now, I will say this, and this is important to know. Where they commit to now, there is no guarantee that they're going to end up there. It's just the way that works. And with the NIL collectives getting the green light to get back involved after the decision a couple of weeks ago, we'll see what the Grove Collective is going to do and how they are going to look at the high school recruiting game over the last couple of weeks. Now, it might be something the Grove Collective just kind of recollects itself and becomes a force in the 2027 class. We'll see exactly how that goes, but there's so many moving parts right now. It's kind of hard to deal with, honestly. Anyway, thank you for making Locked On Ole Miss your go-to source for Ole Miss sports. We pride ourselves in offering the most comprehensive perspectives, which is why we are the front door of Ole Miss. If you don't believe me, Google Ole Miss podcast and see how many times the Locked On Ole Miss podcast comes up. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast, like this podcast, and comment down below. It helps the show, and it is completely free. Your support means the world to us. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has all the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes around college football's landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hotty toddy, everybody. And remember, analytics is just the old English word that means bad football. We'll see you later.